Hey, welcome back to the Big Rant Show. As always, thank you for joining me. If you could, hit that subscribe button down below and let's get right to it. Now, this is going to be another Roseanne review, episode 7 of the reboot season, season 10 officially. And it's entitled The New Neighbors, if I remember correctly. And it really starts out with Roseanne losing her mind over these new Muslim neighbors, apparently, that are moving in across the street. She's freaking out over the amount of fertilizer she sees in their garage. And she even convinces Jackie to go look. And when Jackie looks, first she kind of dismisses it, and then she sees, and she's like, "That's a lot of fertilizer." So they both kind of freak out a little bit. And so it really it kind of shows how a lot of people feel about different religions, and especially their fear they have of Muslim individuals and families moving into their neighborhoods. And sadly, this is a fact. This is a fact of life in America, especially probably around the globe in a lot of places, because of the things that people have done in the name of of Islam. So there's a lot of things that have gone on, and a lot of people don't understand, or they don't see the fact that there's a difference between most of the times between the people that move in next door to you and a radical that wants to harm innocent people. Most people, you can't sit there and hate on an entire group simply because of their religion. You can't hate all of them for the actions of a few. At least that's my assessment. But as it goes on, it turns out that her granddaughter, Roseanne's granddaughter, whose mother is actually stationed in Afghanistan. They were supposed to talk. The granddaughter and the mom were supposed to talk over Skype or something, and because of financial situations going on, all of a sudden they're without internet. And the only way they're able to get the girl to talk to her mother, they're gonna have to find somebody else to talk to. And so apparently they would use other people's internet before then. If something, if they didn't have or weren't paying for theirs or whatever, they'd just steal somebody's internet. And apparently the only people they could talk to were the new neighbors who had moved into the house where they used to steal their internet from. And it turned out it was these Muslim neighbors of theirs, and they went over there, they talked, and in the end, it all works out. And, the cooler heads prevail. But Roseanne's character, Roseanne Connor, of course, is freaked out at the notion of talking to them. She even goes over holding a baseball bat. And, of course, what the funny thing there was Jackie gets Roseanne to put down the baseball bat, and the couple shows to the door with the husband holding a baseball bat. And then they sit there and they talk a little bit about different stuff, and a lot of, you see Roseanne Connor's kind of fears and prejudices show up in their discussions and stuff. And even goes on to say that, oh, so you're from Yemen, so you're not on the ban list. And the lady's like, yes, we are. And it turns out the lady who played the Muslim woman on her show is actually a woman from Syria who's done a lot of work to get Syrian refugees from dangerous places into safer locations since that whole civil war there has been raging for the last few years. So the lady's got a lot of stake in in helping people that are in these war torn areas, and she's done a lot of work, and I think that's really cool that Roseanne would bring somebody in that knows what these people are going through. That they would bring, that the people that are making the show would bring somebody in that knows so much about what's going on with the topic, and to really show the the different sides and the different views, and how they how at the end of the day they've got to come together and work together. And so at the end of it, the woman's like, well, we're glad to help. Children, basically saying children shouldn't miss out on things because of the ignorance of adults. And so that's where they left that. Later in the episode, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but later in the episode, They go. She happens to run into the Muslim lady, her Muslim neighbor, at the local supermarket, and of course, Roseanne's there, and the lady at the counter is really rude when the EBT card for the Muslim neighbor is insufficient on funds. And the lady needed about $30, and Roseanne just said, "Here, put it on my EBT card." And I thought that was, showing, Roseanne showing, hey, yeah, I screwed up. I thought wrongly, and I wanted to make it right. And I think that's really, I think that was really the thing there that got me, was how well they put that story together. Of, you can have different views, but at the end of the day, we're all here trying to get through this crap together. And, sometimes you need a little help. And so that was that part of the story. I really thought that was really cool. I thought the way they, dealt with the situation, Roseanne Connor's fears, as well as the, factual information of, what the people are dealing with, and how there's racism and other things like that going on in this country that we need to deal with. And if you ask me, that's not really, people are, screaming that, oh, it's just some conservative, redneck show or something, and it's not. It's really pointing out, a lot of things that are going on in this country, and a lot of things that people have fears about. And it's putting a little comfort there, I think, for a lot of people. Because there are a lot of people out there that are very concerned about Muslim people moving into their neighborhoods. Whether it's real or imagined, there are a lot of people that fear that. Over the last, since 2001, we've seen nothing but, terrorism across the globe. And a lot of that's been done in the name of Islam, unfortunately. And so I think this is one thing to be able to allay some of the fears that people have, is by having a show that will show you, hey, yes, it's okay to have your fears. But the only way to end your fears is to actually go talk to the people. Get to know people. Help them assimilate into our culture. That way you can alleviate some of your fears that you have. Because not everybody's out to get you. Not everybody's out to hurt you. And at the very end of the episode, the man comes back and says, "Oh, you helped my wife. Thank you." And he wanted to repay her, and so he gives her back the money. It just happens to be 2 a.m. in the morning, just like it was when Roseanne and Jackie showed up on their door asking to use the Wi-Fi. So that was kind of funny. And at the end of the day, it was a really good episode. But the most poignant thing I think I saw in the whole thing had to do with their son DJ, who's been dealing with a lot of stuff. Apparently he had to go to the VA. It's the reason the daughter was left. His daughter was left. Roseanne's granddaughter was left there to talk to her mom on Skype. And it turns out that he didn't go for a doctor's appointment. He went for counseling. Because apparently when he got back from being in Afghanistan, in Iraq and all that stuff, and fighting in the wars over there, he wanted to re-enlist, and the military told him no. And apparently that was a devastating thing that he has to deal with. And I think that's something that they'll be dealing with going forward. But I think it showed there's something really important as well. The man's gone through a whole lot of stuff, just like actual people in the military coming back from Iraq, Afghanistan, and other areas that our troops go to. They're going through a lot. They're dealing with a lot of issues, a lot of them. PTSD, not to mention the fact that some of them are not being able to re-enlist because either they're not needed or they don't feel that they can do the job anymore or whatever. And I'm no expert on the military, so I have no clue how that all works. I just know that I've talked to military personnel, people that were in the military, who have told me that they've dealt with the same thing. That in the past, they've told me that they've dealt with not being able to re-enlist, even though they really wanted to. And I think one thing a lot of these people need is definitely a sense of belonging, a sense of meaning after they get out of the military. And I think some people don't have that. And so I think what happens in this episode is very poignant and very much a great way to deal with it, with some of it. And so he's sitting there talking to Dan about everything and how he didn't really want to talk about it too much, but that the military had told him, thanks but no thanks on his reenlistment. And of course, they're sitting there talking. Of course, Dan's working on a motorcycle, and DJ just happens to hand him the exact right wrench or tool that he needs for the job he's doing on the bike. And he's like, "Well, I've sat here watching you drink beer and repair motorcycles forever now, And he's like, I'm pretty good at both now myself." And so going forward, they decided they're going to work together in restoring motorcycles and trying to make a living that way, try to make some money. Because the one thing that the show talks about during it as well is Dan loses a very big job because the person that he's always been doing the work for has decided to hire a group of illegals, apparently, to do the work. And I'm sure this is something that does happen. This is a very common thing that happens. And I think we've got to do something about it, and I think it points to that. There's things we have to do. We've got to make sure that the people working in this country are legally allowed to work here. Because the one thing is, the people that do, most of the people that come here illegally that work, they don't work, they work in migrant farmer type situations and things like that, and they do jobs that most Americans wouldn't do. But when it starts creeping into jobs people actually do, that Americans actually work hard to do every single day, it's very devastating to those people, and illegals will work for dang near, for almost nothing in some situations. As long as they're getting paid something, they'll work. And so it does happen. It's a very sad thing to happen, and it's something we need to work on. I think they've done a lot to alleviate that problem. I think we've done a lot, especially with the electronic verification that they have now and everything like that, to make sure that you're legally allowed to work. I think that's really important. But you also have to focus on the business owners. Because those people that are hiring illegal people, illegals to work their jobs, that are paying them nothing, they're getting an advantage on other businesses that are going, by the book. And so we've got to do something. I think that's another thing the show definitely brought forth. So there you go. There's at least 3 major things that took place in this 3-minute episode of Roseanne. And I think it's probably one of the best episodes, I think, of the season. I'm looking forward to the next, I think there's 2 more, I think 8, and I think there's supposed to be a 9th episode at some point this season, and then a whole next season to go. But I can't believe how much they're being able to cram pack into these short 20-25 minute episodes, depending on what the commercial links run out to. I think 22 minutes, 23 minutes, something like that on each episode. And the fact they're able to fit that much into it and actually make it good, I don't know how they're able to do it. But my hat's off to the people doing, that put Roseanne together, to Roseanne Barr and everybody else, John Goodman, and the entire cast and crew. Y'all are doing amazing work over there. And I can't wait to see what next season has to offer. You guys just keep doing what you're doing, and I'll keep watching. I'll be sitting there every Tuesday evening watching your shows. And if you haven't caught Roseanne yet, I really suggest you get out there and watch it. They've got it on demand. It's on Hulu. It's a great show. I really suggest you watch it. Put your political feelings aside. Your politics really shouldn't dictate what you enjoy watching on TV. And I really think if you watch this, even if you're politically minded, I think you're going to notice that she's not crazy. It's not all about crazy Donald Trump stuff. It's not what you think it is. At least a lot of people don't think, a lot of people think it is. because a lot of people are sitting out there, complaining, oh, it's just some, right wing agenda show. It's not. It's not. It's talking about real issues that affect real Americans across this country. Not, on the left and right. And I think it's a great show, and I will continue watching it. I really don't care what anyone else has to say about it. Myself, I think you should give it a watch if you haven't. And if you've been watching Roseanne, like, please, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you think about these reviews, and let me know if what directions you think they could go in the next season. I know there's a lot of people out there, a lot of people on YouTube that watch Roseanne. You got Kid Behind the Camera. I know the guy Chad over at Piggybackers likes to watch it. And there's a lot of other people I've seen that just on YouTube that really seem to love Roseanne. And they come from all walks of life and all types of, political backgrounds. So give it a chance, folks. Go give it a watch over on Hulu. And that's about it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've been your host, Jacob Keck. This has been The Big Ranch Show, and I'll see you down the road.